गुरु कृपा केवलम. Namaste everyone. A very warm welcome to Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai. Is the sound okay now? I heard it was quite bad yesterday. So, what should we do? He just says the sound of traffic seems too high. Hope the windows are closed. Even I was wondering, maybe we should close that. Should we try with the on? Is the sound better like this than it was before? But cutting in and out sometimes. Is it cutting in and out more now? No. Okay, we'll try this mode. I've changed something on the Zoom settings. There are pauses. That's what they're saying, yeah. Okay, we'll try for a few moments with this one. Here she goes. She want to stop the traffic on the street. You go to stop the traffic on the road.
I like that, yeah. Improve.
Always happens like this. We get the sound just right, and then there's nothing to say. How many are testing my what? My thesis? How many are testing my thesis that the truths that everyone is presumably looking for is flying around this place. So the truth that everyone is looking for is not just here, which should be obvious by now that it is, you see. But it is also apparent. How will you test that it is apparent or not? This is an important question. I say that the truth is apparent to you now, especially when you're empty of any notion about yourself. How will you test this then?
You have to see if you need to do anything.
You have to see if you have to do anything to recognize it. Yes, good, good. So do you? He says you don't have to do anything to recognize it. It's apparent then.
It's just here.
Just here. Just here, without even the claim that it is the truth of something. You see? Just very obvious and apparent. But not sitting here like, oh, I'm the truth sitting here or something. Is it? It's just then even the label truth falls away. The truth is not sitting here waiting, being truthy or something, or waiting to be recognized. Now that which is, which words can actually capture it, or which idea can encapsulate it? For phenomenal things, you can look at this mic and you can say it is silver in color, it is round in shape, it has a base on which it rests. This camera is like this, it is standing on a tripod. You can say various things about it, which seem phenomenally accurate. Now, for this, we'll use the word provisionally truth, which is apparent. What can we use to describe it? Which quality can we say it has?
Presence.
Presence. And
Self-aware.
it's self-aware, okay. Isness. But you notice that when we say presence, or we say it is self-aware, or we say it is the isness itself, you see, qualitatively these are different from it is silver in color, round in shape, you see, black, white, all of these things. What is that difference?
Shape.
Doesn't have a form or shape. Therefore, it is not perceived in that way, like phenomenal objects. And if it is not perceived in this way, phenomenally, then how is it known? Again, I'm using the term known in a provisional way. Possibly my favorite question of all time, which is, are you aware now? And your assertion, yes. Where does that come from? What is the basis of that?
The moment you try to answer, the words themselves seem to corrupt the thing.
The moment you try to answer, the words themselves seem to corrupt it. Yeah. Like, what could an answer be? What is a corrupting answer?
Words appears in it. So it's
Yeah. They don't really seem to actually describe it.
it's like essential. I don't know why that word came. But,
Yeah. Essential.
essential, yeah.
Like, essential as in must be, or essential means full of essence?
Both.
Now, whatever we might say, presence, isness, awareness, and all of these terms also have actually qualitative differences. You see. But really, if you were to keep even these distinctions aside, what would we say that we need to get or find or become? And if there is nothing that we need to get or find or become, then you notice that all the offers from the mind are only about getting, finding, becoming, either in the positive or in the negative.
So it depends upon who is trying to make the effort. So if his body mind, it can make all the efforts.
So he says if it is the body mind, it can make all the efforts. Yes.
Can never realize.
But it can never realize it. You see? Because it doesn't have the capacity in a way for this sort of understanding. You see? It's like saying, uh, like a program device or an object, you see, should come to the truth of all there is, or the truth of what you are, or isness. You see. So if it cannot do it, which is the body-mind instrument, then who can? Okay, so let's make it easier. So there is body-mind, and what else is there?
Perception of the body and mind.
There's a perception of it, and who is the perceiver? Consciousness. And what is this consciousness? To be, to exist, is it? Being, I amness, consciousness. Okay. But even the term being, see, has an opposite, which is being and not being. See? So this are states for whom? Like I am and just I without am. Even to be or not to be is for whom? So when my master says before I am, or the sages have even said forget about consciousness. Of course, it depends on how we use the term. So if we use the term in this way, that consciousness implies being, I amness, then it is definitely up for exploration as to who is this I that is being, and can this I also not be, not in this way. Now already we have said that the body-mind instrument cannot help us with this. So the mind's concepts, the sensory perceptions, they cannot help with this recognition. What other way you have to recognize? The senses can't help. Then what can? What is left?
It's a sort of like inference process, but then finally you say that the inference itself is happening in head, and you just
He says it's an inference process, and then you see that the inference, then you see When you see or say,
See that
then you see. So what is this seeing? That is the question.
it is not a normal seeing.
Yeah. What? So he says it's not a normal seeing, which means it's not a sensory perception. Then what kind of seeing is it?
It's just that how am I aware of all these things? So there has to be something that sees. So mentally,
Come closer and see.
mentally it takes you to a point. It's keeps changing all the time. So mentally it sort of takes you to a point where, hey, everything's being perceived, so there has to be somebody seeing it, and it's not the body or the mind. And then sometimes you visualize yourself being a point. Everything's around you, and you're a point and you disappear into nothingness. Or the other extreme is you're everywhere, and
So either of
Things are
these
just-
is seen by whom? Like either you disappear into nothingness, or you just see that you're everywhere. You see? Both of these are seen by which one?
the one that's here.
Uh,
Can't describe that.
It is the indescribable one. What is its relationship with you?
I'm that.
You are there. Okay. So now, is there any way in which you can not be that? Also then, is there any distinction between the seer and the seen?
It
And if there
more-
is, then what is needed for that distinction to seem like it is valid? Like, let's experiment with this now. So there is a seeing which is untouched. So let's call that the seer for a moment. And there is all this that is seen, the manifest. You see? So is there naturally a division or a distinction?
There is no natural distinction, except later when you contemplate it, you realize that in the waking state it's one,
Yes.
and
Yes.
when you're in the other states, whatever it is, it's still there.
See, explain this part. In the waking state, it's one, so there's no distinction. Or is there one, you're saying?
It seems to be that, because whatever you perceive has to be, you know that you are because you perceive things. I know, I can't explain it.
Is this valid that you know that you are because you perceive things? If one by one all your senses started going away, see? Sight went away, hearing went away, smell went away, you see? Touch went away, taste went away, then with which sense would you not know now that you exist? With which sense going away would you now not know that you existed?
Rephrase. It's more of seeing the phenomenal things.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm talking about. All these senses.
that cannot be seen without that.
Yes, yes. But I'm saying if nothing is seen, suppose this room became completely dark right now, and all the sounds vanished, and no taste was there, no touch was there, you were in this special chamber, would you not know that you exist? You would still know. You see? So your this knowing, which is separate from conceptual knowing, perceptual knowing, is independent of our sensory perceptions or even this seeming inner perception of memory, imagination. You see, all of these. Isn't it? So we don't actually need objects to confirm our existence. You see. In fact, the other way is more naturally said, where that we never perceive an object unless we are. Now, we're exploring this knowingness, which is independent of any concept or any perception. You see? That means independent of any inferences and what is visibly seen. And this, let's use the term knowingness again for now. Knowingness. What does it mean for this idea of me?
Nothing. It's just an appearance.
The me is it even an appearance?
The body and
Yeah.
the body is.
Sensations, perceptions are appearing. But even the appearance of these sensations and perceptions, is there a me found there?
Keeps coming.
Yes. Keeps coming in what way? So if it is not found perceptually, like, can you find the one who wants freedom, for example, perceptually, as an object? Find the one that wants freedom. You can say it is the body. Obviously, the body wants freedom, but the body is free. It's nothing. Nothing is binding the body at the moment. The sensations are free. They come and they go freely. So even perceptually, like visibly, can we find this me? Can't find it. You see? So this is very strange, isn't it? That the one that seems to get so much allegiance in our life, and we seem to be catering to all the needs of me for so long, seemingly, we cannot even find it this way. You see? And the one that is being pointed to in satsang, you see, that one you cannot miss. You see? Isn't that astounding? That the person that we seem to want to be rid of so much, in a way, which is also personal, you see, that one we can't even locate. You see? And the self which we seem to be searching for, this self-realization, we cannot miss. So then why does it seem like a struggle? What is the seeker out then? If we cannot miss this, then what is it that we are seeking?
Is having fun.
Having fun. I'd be very happy if that was true. Yes, if you mean consciousness, having fun playing this Leela. That is why the sages found that there's one very direct route, if a route is needed, which is to see that this play of me depends more than anything else, more than appearances, more than emotion, more than any sensation. It depends on these thoughts, these notions. And it is not the appearance of the notions in themselves which seem to cause identification with this me. Although many have prescribed many things to not even perceive these notions, like trying to control your attention. So, although many have prescribed various ways in which you can try and get some mastery over your attention, be it mindful breathing or chanting or various such methods in which you would not even give any attention to what the mind is saying. Here it is naturally feels more natural to express in this way that even if these notions appear and disappear, unless you give your assent to them, unless you believe them, they do not cause any identification. So it is this identification which is the grasping or the clinging on to notions. And it is this clinging which is suffering. Okay? Clinging equals suffering. So then all we have to check is that can I remain without this clinging? See, if clinging equals suffering and there's no other way to suffer except this clinging, then all we need to then check is whether it is possible to remain without clinging. My proposition to you is that it is, because I see that even to say that, oh, clinging seems like it just happens automatically, is also clinging on to to some notion of it. But there are most times where we are independent of that notion. We're not clinging on to anything at all. This we can experiment with and see. So, what happens when we identify that which is so apparent? You all said it's just here, it is clear, it is just being. You see, it is prior to being. All of these good things were said, you see, and it is just apparent, you see, here and now. Then what happens when we identify Why is clinging equal to suffering? What is it that we identify as?
It could be some factor as a person. Then you're sort of in the middle of it.
Yeah, but what is this person?
It's again just an appearance.
That's what you're
It's a
looking
thought.
at.
It's a thought.
You see?
It's,
It's like an imaginary mythical entity. You see, I would say, like a mythical entity, as mythical as the Loch Ness monster or something like that, you see, which seems to get a lot of ownership over these four categories of things which we often talk about, which is relationships, health of the body, security, and even the search for meaning or freedom. It seems to operate in these, it seems to be the owner, for example, of the money that we have, the relationships that we have, the seems to own this body also. My body is not feeling so well today. I feel I must rest my body. My body is a bit tired. Is it? Seems to be the owner of all of this. And also wants like an end to this suffering itself. It claims to want the end to this suffering through freedom or some ultimate meaning. You see? Now this one is the one that we identify with, but it is impossible to identify as that one unless we're using some concept, at least one concept. And in one concept, all concepts are contained. You see? But this prerequisite is there.
worth.
Is the yeah. So as Bankai said, all problems, everything is completely resolved in the unborn. All things are completely resolved in the unborn. You see? Then the birth, which is then implying, is the birth of this notional me, of this um, identification as this mythical creature, me. So wouldn't it be really cool if we could just not identify?
Who makes the decision of, and it doesn't
Yes.
seem to be that you make a decision to identify or not.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. So if it is like this, that there are two modes of existence, which is empty of this identification, you see, or full of this identification. It could not be that at the root of it itself is an identified one, because identification itself needs to happen, isn't it? So the primary cannot be a pre-identified one. You see? That is why I call it the play of consciousness itself. The Leela that consciousness is playing, choosing to play with this as this deluded one and choosing to step out of this delusion. You see? So so the choice, the will of consciousness somehow feels different from like when we feel like something is happening through personal will. You see? But actually, there is no such thing as personal will, because we looked even just now and we saw that we can't find even objectively this person. You see? So when we say that all things happen through the will of consciousness, or we say Guru Kripa Kevalam, you see, we say that there is a underlying intelligence to the movement of things. You see, what is that? Like even how do plants grow or flowers flower? You see, who who is making the heartbeat or the breath function? You see, what is that underlying intelligence? So another way, another term to use for that underlying intelligence is the will of consciousness. You see? There is no distinction between that primal intelligence and that which we call God's will. So this one, you see, is playing that game of, in a way, these are just terms, playing the game of identifying as something limited and playing the game of stepping back from something limited. You see? So that, yeah.
And you say don't identify that.
Yeah. That is just consciousness speaking with consciousness. You see? Why does it have to be done? No reason. Like, it's all part of the design of this play. Just like in this play, there are billions of shops which are selling you the story of identification. There are few shops which are selling you the story of disidentification. You see? Now, who is to do that? It is the only one that is here. Does it need to be reminded? Absolutely not. Is it? Does it need an objective reminder to come in the form of the outer form of a guru and say, stop identifying? Absolutely not. Yet in the play, it seems to be that way. Is it? Just like there are so many who are saying, okay, this will be good for you. You'll become a better person. If you do this, you'll become a better person. If you do that, there are some uh, reminders available in this appearance which seem to be saying, but are you a person? Is it? Are you a person? Is it? Just like to wake up from the dream, what appearance has to come within the dream? Nothing. No appearance has to come within the dream. And yet many times it can feel like in the dream itself you might have an experience of jumping off something or some strong experience where you, oh, that woke me up. Is it? So is it possible that an object within the dream can wake you out of the dream? Actually, it doesn't seem like it is logical. And yet in the play, it seems to play that way. So, and that is why a good way to describe satsang is consciousness, speaking with consciousness. Actually, but even that is not, we cannot say it is 100% true because everything is consciousness, speaking with consciousness. But most conversations of consciousness, speaking with consciousness, are seemingly for the betterment of the identified one. And there are some conversations which are nothing to do with the identified one, with the personal identities. That is why there is no such thing as perfect satsang or the best path. See? Because what wakes us out of the dream, what has to appear within the dream to wake us out of the dream, or even if it seemed like a sound from outside wakes us up, what needs to be said to wake you up from the outside? These things we cannot say. That is why, in a way, Vanshi Ramana Maharishi said that as long as it feels like we have some choice, you see, because uh, many times what can happen is that we are feeling like we have many choices, but only when it comes to like this choice, like don't go with your thoughts, and you feel like, do I even have a choice? We make the choice of believing this question about choice only in satsang. In life, it seems like we have to make lots of choices. We still believe the choice maker identity. So he said, as long as it feels like there is some choice, make the choice not to go with your stream of thoughts. And then you will see that even this so called choice was actually just grace. See, it seems to play this way. We cannot really actually define it, but it seems to play in this way that consciousness makes that choice of identifying and then gives up on making that choice. You see? Then there comes a point where even choice or no choice is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Is it? And that point can be right now. When I say then there comes a point, it doesn't necessarily mean sequentially. You see? Like Bhagavan said, then you will see actually that even this choice or no choice was actually grace. That is available here and now. Identification is consciousness believing a notion about itself. Even the arising of notions are from itself only. There's nothing outside of it. Even this play of identification is within it. You see? And although there is no actual explanation for why it happened like this, you see, but we can say that you derive some sense of joy or some sense of enjoyment from this getting deluded, and then even the oscillation of delusion and stepping back from delusion and getting stuck again and then stepping back. You see, just like we talk about movies, we don't like movies with just abrupt endings. Like if you were wrongly imprisoned for 20 years, you see, and then somebody just came and opened the door and you were let free. You see? You say, what kind of movie is that? In the movie, the protagonist was unfairly imprisoned for 43 years. And then one day the doors were opened. You couldn't see the one who opened them. Why they opened it? Nothing. He's free. Would you go watch such a movie? Or just even further, for 43 years, one imagined that they were in a prison. You see? And one day they just woke up and they saw there is no prison. Finished. End of movie. Would you watch it? You want some drama? Yeah. You want to beat up some bad guys, win in court, have some this thing. You see? So that is the way consciousness plays with this movie also. We feel like we are oppressed, suffering, then it feels like we struggle, we come out of it a little bit, then we get stuck back again, then something happens, then we come out. You see, it seems so much like a movie. You see? Now, none of this has to be this way. There is no definition like that. You can just say that from whatever experience of appearances we've had, it seems to play out in this way. Let's see what they're saying. Dear Father, there seems a feeling of stress and frustration. I don't know whether it is depression. It seems to come to surface more while during satsang. There seems conflict in intellect. Intellect seems to be crashing. It can feel like that. We were speaking a bit after the broadcast was ended yesterday, where you can seem very frustrated because satsang is taking away all that we can stand on All the concepts that we can hold on to, getting rid of all distinctions. So when the mind asks this question, so what is it? What are you learning? What are you getting? You find that there is no answer to this, and that can seem very frustrating. But this, what the mind labels as frustration, this, as I was reading from the book the other day, this openness, this not able to rest on a concept, this letting go, this even tension of not knowing, it can feel like stress of not knowing. But actually, it is doing a cleanup job. It is a great, great opportunity to see things for as they are instead of for what you think they are. So that which the mind will label frustration or just like stress, because it can feel like, but what is this? What am I getting? What do I know now? You see? Now, these are the messages from the mind. If you let them come and go, and remain in your openness and not landing on any concept, it can feel like you're floating in limbo for a while. So let this mind get frustrated. You allow it to come and go. And you will get more and more used to this, not needing to rest on a concept. As the sage said, not having to come back to the nest of our ideas and our intellect. Then you are just natural anywhere, whatever might be coming and going. You are just natural because you are not a slave to your interpretation of what is. So this so-called conflict in the intellect is good because you leave it behind. You will find that your intellect has never actually solved anything. It is just given you conclusions and reasoning for things which actually you cannot conclude or reason about. And it is these conclusions which have led to suffering, have taken away our sense of spaciousness or openness. So let the intellect be contradicted and collide with its own concepts. You rest in your neutrality. Other to disidentify from personhood. You say, don't believe your next thought. But there are hundreds of thoughts in a minute. How can this work? Okay, so what you have to do then is you have to express these hundreds of thoughts. As they come, just say them out loud. So they are too fast is one thought. They are too fast. Then what is the next one? You count like that. Just make yourself completely open to all thoughts to come. Invite them, in fact. Say, okay, what do you want to say now? Then the second thought is, I can't detect some of them. So don't worry about those. See, already your problem is simpler. First, you detected hundreds of thoughts in a minute. Now you're saying, I can't detect. So that which you can't detect doesn't exist for you. Forget about it. Now you take a minute, you see, and let everything come and go. You count how many thoughts came. You say some of them are images. Don't worry about images. We're just right now concerned about messages. You see? Something that is saying something. And welcome all these images also. If they are not interpretation, let them come and go. It is very, very, very good actually if you release this imagery. Because many times we are scared of facing this imagery. So right now, one, two, three, four thoughts. Like the images seem to have underlying messages. You see? So that's a thought. The images seem to have underlying messages. Is a thought, which is fine. Don't have any fear about any imagination, any perception, any memory, and allow all these interpretations of all of them to go, to come and to go. Don't serve them tea. And if it feels like there are hundreds, it's good to create an open space for them. what next is a persistent thought. You see? That it is a persistent thought is also a thought. Just allow it to come and go. Let it keep saying what next, what next, what next, what next, what next, what next. When you are empty of the idea of next, when you are not looking for anything from the future, then this thought will not push your button so much. What we have nurtured and cultivated for sometimes you can say many lifetimes, that seems to get the most uh, belief, you see, most identification. If you, for example, if you talk to someone who has no interest in spirituality, you see, just never been to Satsang, and you say, you're just being a person right now. Be like, yeah, so, but if you speak to somebody in Advaita Satsang, and you say, you're just being a person right now, see? That is the biggest Advaita insult. You see why? Both are just the same, the content of the thought is the same, the concept is the same. It is just that we have identified with the notion of not being a person, you see, and also we have doubts about whether we are succeeding in that endeavor. So when somebody comes and tells us you're just being a person, you see, it pushes our button, you see. But for most of the world, it doesn't seem like an insult at all. You see, it doesn't feel like something to be fixed. Of course, I'm a person. What do you mean? You see, like that. So how can it be that the content, the concept, you see, is the same, but because of your existing belief system of what you believe should be or should not be, then these thoughts can come and press our buttons. So if we can let go of the entire bag of concepts, you see, and not even expect that the mind will give up and not play these tricks. Don't even expect that. Let the mind do whatever it wants. In a way, it is like that boy who cried wolf story. And the boy says, the wolf is here, the wolf is here. It's the first time you go to help him. Second time you go to help him. Third time you go to help him. By fourth time you start becoming a bit skeptical, isn't it? Is it? In the same way, the mind keeps offering up the story of what's happening to the person or what the person wants or what it is suffering from. But the more and more you see that there wasn't a person, you went, looked for the wolf, you looked for the person. You saw there is none. So how long will we keep running when it calls? It can't last forever. We give up on the story of this egoic wolf, you see. So, for those thoughts which seem specially persistent in this way, depending on your temperament, you can inquire into them or you can surrender them. For some to surrender, it seems more natural, and for some to inquire seems more natural. So, if you say, "What next?" is a persistent thought for me, then you can pull this into your inquiry and say, "What next for whom? Who is here on which time actually functions? Is myself changing with time or affected by time or concerned by time? And if the self is not concerned by time, then who is concerned by time? And the more you check, the more you will see that the potency of this thought, what next, will reduce. So, whatever comes regularly in the way of your notionlessness, it seems to keep making you dance. You see those buttons on the remote control that keep making you dance every time they are pressed. Those you can pull into your inquiry and just ask yourself, who is it for? And you will find that these persistent thoughts are not so many. All of us have only maybe two or three of them, which really press our buttons now. Very good, very good. Father, anger is arising during satsang. It's not so uncommon, my dear. Watching the mind wanting to analyze why, also wanting to hide this, so exposing this now. Yes. You see? Many times we don't realize how much of a figurer we have become. You see? How much even those with seemingly devotional temperaments many times don't realize that how much they're trying to figure things out. Why is it like this? Why is this happening to me? You see? Like we can we can convince ourselves that we are surrendered to the master's grace, but the surrender is not in the trying to understand why. The surrender is in the giving up of the why. So to surrender and keep asking why is not surrender at all. You see, it's like saying, uh, God, I hand over my life to you completely. You see? And you say that, and then every few minutes you're like, but I handed over my life to you completely, so why are you doing this to me now? You see, why? You see? Then it's not a complete handover. So it's very good that you're noticing this and exposing this. You see? Because this figure, why I like this, why I like that, why can't it be this way, you see, is getting tired now because no answers to why are really coming. And whatever answers seem to be coming in satsang also, next day they are taken away. So you're not getting any concept to rest on. And this is bound to frustrate the mind, first frustrate the intellect. Let it get fully tired, let it get fully tired, this intellect. This why. Once you see that there is no conceptual answer to this why, then you will see that this why does not actually apply. In is, there is no why, it just is. There is no why is it, it just is. Also, it is important to see, sorry, one second, my dear, there is no power coming in the computer. Yeah, it came for a moment and then it went. Let's try a different slot. Yeah. See? And the fact is that we don't know why anything. Like I keep asking in satsang these days, why are you? Why are you? Do you know why you are? And if you are the basis for all experience, all appearances, and you don't even know why you are, why I am, if you don't even know why I am, then how can we say anything about why anything after this is? Why any appearance comes and goes? We can't say. So all our whys are actually just made up. We don't even know why we asking why. Why do we have to know why? That's why I enjoyed this poem very much. Tiger got to hunt, bird got to fly, man got to ask himself, why? Tiger got to sleep, bird got to land, man got to tell himself, he understands. Have you ever seen a parrot saying, why? I don't know, parrot. Even in humanity, it's after a certain age. Even when language is first there, you don't find little children sitting around saying, why has this happened to me? You see? It's only after they're three and more, maybe, like young children with even language starting to develop. The why question is not so attractive till at a certain age, then everything becomes why. Why is the sky blue? Why do I have to go to school? Why does really then that whole, and then based on these answers, it's kind of that individuality develops. Maybe hang on to these reasons and we feel like, okay, in this way now life makes sense. So all of us as parents remember that phase which our kids went through. Everything was why. But it wasn't there when they were really small. And then language developed, and then for a while it still didn't seem so this thing. But when the strains of individuality start to really, then we need answers. Why this, why that, why this, why that, why that. And there's a certain box, you see, that is created full of all of these answers. I feel like this is my worldview. I should be honest because this, I should do my homework or not do my homework because of this, you see, whatever the reason is, then this forms like the framework for the seeming person. All these concepts that we pick up, and then we keep refreshing that box. You see, every day, new why, and we discard some more reason, pick up a new reason, discard an old concept, pick up a new concept, and this keeps going on. Mhm. Till we come to a point and we see that what is all of this about? Is there anything really valid in my box of concepts? We start looking at them and think, what is this? What is this? And we start looking at what is this, what is this, what is this. We see that, wow, there was so much conceptual stuff here, so much notional ideas here. Things like what we were taught when we were really young then start appearing. We were taught up and down. We were taught good and bad. We were taught right and wrong. And it seemed like our life could not function without these ideas because we have to know how to live. You see? And then we came to spirituality and we were taught how to be good seekers. So as we throw all of this aside and don't pick up the opposite position, this is the trick. You see? We throw one thing, then we are naturally attracted to the opposite of that. You see? So like I was saying yesterday, once we see that there is no such thing as bondage, then we want to hang on to the claim that I am free. Okay? But if you just throw and leave it empty, okay? What is that throw and leave it empty means? Divest everything of its conceptual meaning, of its notional uh, charge in a way. Everything is charged, and how much we have charged it also determines in a way our magnetism to that particular concept. Even if you charge the notion, I am free, I am free, I am free, I am free. You see, you keep charging this notion, I am free. You see? And it becomes like a special notion for you that I am free. And someone comes and says, no, freedom doesn't mean anything. What do you mean by free? It'll feel like an attack, you see. So, in any end of the spectrum of opposites, if we identify so much with that, then it can be poked, attacked. But as we remain empty of all of these opposites, all that we think we knew, all that we think we have to know, all that we think we have to figure out for life to run, So all that we think we know are just subtitles about life. And in a way, we got so used to these subtitles that we feel like the movie cannot run without these subtitles. But it is not like that. In fact, it is these subtitles which seem to make this movie more blurry, unclear. As you let them be, you let them come and go, you start to experience this movie in a completely unique, different way, empty of the burden of ego, empty of the struggle of individuality. Very good. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai.
Sadhguru Shri Ananta-Part Jai.
Guru Kripa Kevalam.